Roundabout Canberra. 2018 is the year. So you decide to start that as a charity back in 2018. So what is that? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so the thought first came to mind actually in late 2017. So at the time I was on maternity leave with my second child. So I had a newborn and a toddler at home, and I've grown up in Canberra. I really care about the Canberra community, and with both of my kids, I'd wanted to pass my secondhand baby items on to families in my own community that needed them. And I'd given things away in various ways on Facebook Marketplace, which can be a bit of a pain, as many people know, and to local women's refuges who, had limited space and couldn't always take what I wanted to pass on. And so by the time I came to having my second child, I'd stumbled across a charity in Melbourne called St Kilda Mums who rehome pre-loved children's items to local families.
And they're big down there too.
Yeah, they are, exactly. So I just thought surely something like that could work in Canberra. And it all kind of spiralled from there. I sent some emails to local community services to see if they thought something like that could work. And the response was a definite yes.
Great.
So then I sort of got the wheels in motion, and while I was on maternity leave, with the help of a bunch of women from my social network and my mother's group and my working life, formed the initial board that got Roundabout off the ground.
So the idea really comes from like a need, right? A need that you saw that existed. Can I just, though, ask you about that idea of, now wanting to sort of be kind with the stuff that you had so that others could benefit? Like, where does that idea come from for you? Like, the idea of kindness, like what does that sort of mean for you in your life?
I think a sense of giving to those who are around you is something that's sort of been deeply instilled in me, from my childhood. It's something my parents have always been very generous and have always given to charities and, donated our pre-loved items to local charities and things like that. So it's something I've definitely grown up, being very exposed to. And, I nearly did social work at uni. I didn't actually end up doing it, but I've always really liked the idea of supporting those around me who need support. And I think I am, kindness and compassion is something that sort of does come quite naturally to me. That's sort of how I approach life and how I approach my interactions with people. So, with starting Roundabout, I wanted to do something to help people around me who needed help. And, there's definitely an element of kindness and compassion and dignity as well is something that's very important to us at Roundabout that sort of weaves through the whole journey.
Yeah. Can I ask you about young Hannah?
Yes.
Yeah, little Hannah?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was she like?
I think I was a very sensitive child. So, it's something my parents often used to tell me to, toughen up a little bit and not be so sensitive. But I think, I actually think that sensitivity has meant that I have a lot of empathy for other people. I'm very in tune with, my own emotions and the emotions of others. And so I think that's actually something that's served me very well. I'm the oldest of three children. I have two siblings. I grew up in Canberra, went to local public schools, mixed with a broad range of friends and people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I've had
Were you a big dreamer as a little girl?
When I was younger, I thought I'd be a doctor. I was quite determined that I would be a doctor. But then by the time I got to college and enrolled in chemistry, I realised that medicine was not for me and science was not where my skill set lay.
Okay.
I think I did have big dreams and I was always quite determined. I then, went on I actually studied criminology at uni in the end.
Wow.
And, I was determined that I would go and work for the Australian Institute of Criminology and I got that job. So I think I am, I was always quite determined. So maybe some big dreams, but a lot of determination there as well.
Okay. Do you listen to a lot of criminal podcasts by any chance?
Sometimes. I also listen to a lot of, business and not-for-profit podcasts now, but there have been some really good ones over the last few years. So, I do love a good crime podcast.
Yes. I know many people who are like so gentle and nice and kind, and then in their spare time they listen to like a lot of criminal stuff. Yeah. And I just think like what is that? Like there must be something that kind of intrigues, the aspect of being like I don't know, really kind, and then trying to understand how people can be so different, maybe.
Yes. What goes on in people's minds and what makes them tick.
So. Yeah. So you grew up in Canberra, now Canberra in 2024 looks very different I've been in Canberra since 1991 and Canberra has changed so much. What are your thoughts about Canberra today, how it's evolved, where do you think it's going, all of that? Talk to me about that.
I mean, I think Canberra has become an amazing city. I've always loved it, but it's really transformed in terms of, the facilities that we have here and, incredible restaurants and all of those sorts of things, the development. But I think that growth and kind of the beautiful city that it is today also disguises the need that exists in the community. And I think for a lot of people, they view Canberra as a political town, a public service town, a very middle-class town. And I think it's often quite surprising to some people that there is a cohort of people in Canberra who are actually having a really difficult time and are very much in need of support. And I think even for myself, when I started Roundabout, I knew there was a need. But I didn't realise how significant the need was. And I think obviously over the last few years, even though Canberra has transformed and grown and, we've got a light rail and we've got all these other, impressive things, we've also gone through COVID. We're going through a huge, period of where cost of living pressures are putting a lot of pressure on people who might not have otherwise previously needed support. Yeah. And I think not everyone in Canberra or outside of Canberra has an understanding of the need that exists in Canberra.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I remember Canberra, when I was growing up, to just be like a really simple place to exist, and I think that the majority of people sort of like felt exactly the same. And now there are all of these different pressures that come in to the city and to the town. I remember, in 2003 with the bushfires, and I just remember how the community really rallied behind, itself and each other. Do you think that we've kind of lost a little bit of heart and soul in the city because of like the growth, or do you think that it's just like a perception that maybe we have?
I think there's a bit of a perception. I think also there's a piece there that's not unique to Canberra in terms of like a post-COVID world where I think so many people are just finding life so busy, and so they're struggling to focus on anything other than the sort of the here and now and what they're dealing with in their own lives.
Yes.
Having said that, in terms of Roundabout's experience, we have this beautiful community of volunteers and of people who, donate their things and, connect with Roundabout in other ways. So I do think sort of, you talked about the bushfires, and I think Canberrans, like there are lots of Canberrans who are very dedicated to supporting their own community. Yeah. I think there is this sort of tricky situation that people are finding themselves in where just life's hectic and it's really hard to fit all those things in that you want to do.
Yeah, okay. Let me ask you about the first day of Roundabout Canberra, right? Did you give it a name on day one?
Pretty early on. So I picked the name Roundabout Canberra, and to me, for Canberrans, Canberra is full of roundabouts, so it's very typical Canberra. So there was that, but then also that notion of kind of, the circular economy and of giving back as well as sort of that that cyclical nature. And I shopped it around and no one liked it, but I still feel really proud of the name. And I'm not very creative, and I'm not the person who is usually able to come up with names for things or, you know, good slogans and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a very apt
It is a great name, by the way. Yeah.
But yeah, day one of, I still have these vivid memories of our first, it wasn't necessarily day one, but our first donation day where we put a call out on Facebook. We were a total, you know, unknown quantity. No one had heard of Roundabout before. Yeah. And we said that, you know, we needed people to donate their pre-loved, at the time we were just focused on babies. We now help up to teenagers as well. But we needed people to donate their pre-loved baby items, and that we'd be in this location on this particular day. And it was a torrential thunderstorm that day. It was just like a huge storm where there was a whole lot of flooding, and I think people's roofs were damaged and things like that. Gosh. And we were standing out the front thinking, no one is going to show up. This is going to be an absolute disaster. What are we going to do? And stacks of people came. They all came to drop off their stuff. So it just sort of showed the power of social media and, you know, community and people spreading the word. So yeah, I guess that gave some hope that it could be something.
Yeah, nice. So what is the process now today, right? So people can give the things that they no longer need, but also people can support you otherwise. So can you give us a bit of an insight really into the everyday of Roundabout, but also, what are kind of like the processes in-house that means that, you know, what you guys do as a team means that so many Canberrans can actually benefit from it. Yeah, so we now have a warehouse in Holt in West Belconnen, for those who are from Canberra, and it's an old primary school that has been converted by the ST government into space for a number of different community services. So we're one of them that live in that building, which is great. And basically members of the public can come and drop off their pre-loved children's items. So we help newborns up to 18-year-olds really, but we go up to size 16 children's clothing. Right. And our focus is on really anything that's considered essential to raise a child. So cots, prams, car seats, clothing, toys, toiletries, school items, you know, the sort of the full spectrum of goods that you might need for children. And then we have an incredible team of about 250 active volunteers. That's huge. It's amazing. Who come to our warehouse. We have about, you know, each session we'll have about 20 volunteers there at a time. And in those sessions, our volunteers will sort and check and clean and prepare all of the donations to make sure that they're in great condition. And as I mentioned before, we're very focused on dignity. So we're not looking to just pass on pre-loved items. We're looking to pass on pre-loved items that are safe, high quality, beautifully presented. And they're all, you know, our clothing packs are nicely folded and, you know, laid out so that when a family opens a box, they feel good. So our volunteers spend their time out there doing that. And then the way that we actually provide the goods to the families. So we don't work directly with the families themselves. It's all done through a network of about 140 social services and community organisations. So social workers at the public hospitals, women's refuges, the Red Cross through their humanitarian settlement program, a whole range of services from, you know, the whole spectrum of programs that support families. And basically whenever they're working with a family that needs stuff for their kids, the service places an order with Roundabout for that particular family. So the needs of each family will vary. Some, particularly as we're coming into some very cold weather in Canberra, some might just need a box of winter clothes, but others, you know, we recently helped a family that had 8 children and they needed, you know, a pram, a number of car seats, a cot, clothing for all the children, bedding for all the children. And so we provide exactly what each family needs. And that removes the financial burden that comes from having to track down those items, but also the mental load that comes from having to think about the various items that you might need for different children. And basically the service will then come and pick up the items and drop them off to the family. Wow. That's incredible work, right? What is the hope that you have for Roundabout Canberra? So
we know that there's quite a well-known stat in Canberra that there are at least 8,000 children living in poverty in Canberra at the moment. We actually think that number's probably higher, and particularly with the cost of living pressures that people are seeing. So last year we helped just over 4,000 children. So we've grown a lot in the 6 years that we've been around. But we basically just want to make sure that we're able to be there for every local child that needs our support. So we're aiming to help 5,000 children this year. But we just want to be a stable, a stable part of the suite of services that's available to local families in Canberra long term.
Yeah. How fantastic is that? And so do you find it easy working with other like-minded organisations in the ACT? Yeah, do you find it like a bit of a wrestle, or what does that look like?
My experience has been extremely positive. I have found that organisations in the community sector and other not-for-profits are very keen to collaborate and to avoid duplication, to work alongside each other. I probably didn't necessarily expect it to be as positive of an experience as it has been. But I found no one wants to reinvent the wheel. They're all keen to share ideas and, help people avoid going down a path that, they found doesn't work. So I've definitely found that in Canberra as well as outside of Canberra in terms of other organisations that I've connected with. But it's been a really good experience.
That's good to hear. Because the better you guys work together, the more benefits to the wider community, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
And if we can all just focus on the bits that we do well, it's and that's a really important part of what Roundabout does. Yeah. We're obviously focused on providing the support to the families, but we are also freeing up those 140 organisations that we work with. We're freeing them up so that they don't need to think about where they're going to access material goods for the families they're helping. They get that from Roundabout, and then they can focus their time and budget and full attention on addressing the other needs of the families.
That's right. That's why I don't think that there's such a thing as competition in the not-for-profit sector, right? Because at some point or another, whilst particularly on the surface it looks like organisations might do exactly the same, strengths and capabilities lie in different points,
Absolutely.
Right? So if everybody can focus on what they're really, really great at, then everybody does that, then the whole community wins and organisations win likewise. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hannah, what's a day-to-day look like for you? Yeah, you're a CEO, you're a mum, you're a wife. Yeah, when do you get up?
Life's a juggle, as I'm sure most busy parents who work find. So I typically get up early and exercise in the morning, which it's really important to me. It sort of allows me to clear my head, and it's a really important part of my day. And if I don't get to do that, I find it sort of, I'm not off to a good start. So get up fairly early, and then my husband's a small business owner as well, so we always have a bit of a juggle in terms of who's managing which extracurricular activities for the kids and things like that. But thankfully we do have grandparents our parents are in Canberra, so that's a huge help. Yeah, they're amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I know a lot of people in Canberra don't have that, so we're very lucky. But in terms of my working day, every day is different, and I really like that. So I might be, we might be short-staffed, I might be hands-on and, helping to get things, moving in the warehouse and supporting the rest of the team to make sure that we can, get through what needs to be done in a particular day. It might be meeting with, someone from the ACT government. It might be meeting with a potential corporate partner, preparing for our tax appeal, which is coming up. It's varied. Obviously, meeting with various members of our team. But I actually really love that. The days are unpredictable, and every day is different. There's always a challenge in every day. Yes. And I'm always facing things that I haven't done before or that I don't know how to do, and I have to work out how to do them. And that's very personally satisfying, which is great.
Yeah, that's cool. And when you're not at work, when you're with your family, like, do you find it easy to sort of put things aside, your responsibilities aside as CEO? Is there overlap when you're at home and you've got to do bits and pieces for Roundabout?
I find it really hard to switch off, and it's actually something I've been like very actively working on this year in particular. I think when you're doing something that you're really passionate about and really care about, it's very easy to sort of blur the lines between work and home. And I find it very hard to switch off and to draw the limit and to, be properly present with my family. So it's something I'm making a very, very active, active. Yeah, I'm very actively focused on that at the moment to try and make sure that. I am focused on my family, because I think, the list is always far longer than you can ever get through. And, I'm just learning to get comfortable with, focusing on the highest priority things on a particular day and then closing my laptop and leaving the rest for tomorrow. So, but it's a challenge.
It is a challenge. And I guess really this year, it's even been more challenging at the same time that you're trying to maybe work on the balance component. The ACT is also throwing one of its biggest accolades your way as 2024 Citizen of the Year, and congrats on that.
Thank you.
Obviously, that's just another wonderful thing to throw into the mix. What has that meant for you to get such a huge accolade?
I was, really very chuffed to receive an award like that. I, obviously as a very proud Canberran, as someone who's grown up here, it means a lot to receive an award like that. But in terms of, it's been absolutely incredible for Roundabout in terms of the publicity and awareness raising and, attention from the media. So there was, a lot of media interest, which was great and came at a really good time, because we've seen a spike in demand for our service this year, which means we need a lot more stuff. We need a lot more donations of goods to keep pace with that demand. So, it just, the timing actually worked out beautifully. So all this incredible publicity has meant that we've had lots of donations coming in. But we still need more. So, that's been really good.
That's really good. Yeah. Do you find that you get recognised on the streets now, or has that really changed at all?
Not really. I mean, it was lovely to I've heard from so many people to congratulate me and wish me well, which was lovely. So I think it shows the publicity did really reach far and wide, which has been great for many reasons. But no, I don't feel like I'm famous in Canberra. But
that's good. Yeah, well, I think such a huge accolade. It was very well awarded this year. Given the fact that you've gotten Roundabout Canberra started as a mum, and you've turned it into quite a success story. It's one of the better known local organisations. I think in Canberra we tend to know big name organisations, like the Salvation Army, whatever else, those names, Cancer Council, all of that stuff. Those are not unique to Canberra. They weren't started here. And the fact that you've been able to start, an organisation and grow it in such a small amount of time to the point where you are affecting impact to so many lives, it's just quite a remarkable thing, right?
Oh, thank you. I think people also are drawn to Roundabout because there's a way for people to. There are so many different ways for people to contribute. So, there's financial supporters, but there are those people who are just looking for an avenue to pass on their secondhand children's items, and they really like the idea of knowing that it's going directly into the hands of people who need it. Yeah. And then we have this, volunteer opportunity as well, both for individuals looking to volunteer and for workplaces. And so I think there's just these various ways that people can connect, and they can give whatever it is out of those, three streams that they want to give. Yeah. And I think it's nice for people to feel that they're supporting their local community.
Yes. So. Yeah. Can I ask you what you hope for as a mum for your children?
Yeah. So actually a really important part of Roundabout and the whole sort of Roundabout journey for me has been exposing my children to what we're doing and helping to sort of instill that sense of giving and, you know, generosity and, you know, thought for others in them that is really important to me. So I've got a 6-year-old who has grown up around, I mean, both my children have grown up around Roundabout, but she was only a few months old when I started Roundabout. Yeah. So my kids are very used to spending time at Roundabout, and especially in those early years, spend a lot of time there. As did a number of our volunteers' children and now some of our other paid staff's children. So there's just this lovely sort of community of children who've been a really important part of Roundabout. And, sometimes I sort of doubt that, you know, that it's all sort of rubbing off on them well enough. But, you know, every now and again I hear my kids explain to other people what Roundabout is or what I do. And
that's cool.
It makes me very proud because I think, you know, that it is really helping to sort of shape them as adults and helping to, give them an appreciation for giving. So, I hope that does really rub off on them and that it does help them become people who value that.
That's great. That's really cool. What about hopes for yourself? Like, what do you hope for you in the future?
I don't know. Like for now, I'm very focused on, you know, what I'm doing. I'm very focused on making sure that, you know, Roundabout is, you know, will be there for decades to come, and that, you know, in 20 or 30 years' time, we're talking about Roundabout in the same way that people talk about Vinnie's and you know, other such well-known not-for-profits. But I don't know. I can't imagine doing anything other than what I'm doing now. Okay. But I also know that at some point there'll come a time where you know, either Roundabout needs something different. I don't have. This is my first experience as a CEO of a not-for-profit. Before that, I was in the Commonwealth Public Service. So this is new to me, and I'm, you know, constantly learning and constantly sort of, you know, changing my way of thinking and looking to sort of, you know, inform myself and learn new things so that I can sort of, I can grow as Roundabout grows. But, you know, there might come a point where Roundabout needs something different, or, you know, or I want something different. But for now, I can't picture doing anything other than what I'm doing right now.
Okay. What about, if I was to ask you how you want for the Canberra community to impact Roundabout, what does that answer look like?
I want every single parent in Canberra to know that Roundabout exists, because I know that I know that, you know, we've become much better known, and, you know, this award has really helped with that, but there are still lots of people who've never heard of Roundabout before. So I want to make sure that every single Canberra parent knows that Roundabout exists and that we are sort of, you know, the chosen destination for all pre-loved goods, so that we don't have that worry about sort of making sure that we're able to meet the demand for the support that families need. And then, I just want to make sure that we're there for all of the children and the families that need our help.
So it is almost May now. So end of financial year campaigns for not-for-profits are well and truly either getting underway or they're being very, very, you know, planned very thoroughly now. Give us an insight as to what you guys need really for, you know, before June 30, that deadline that we all sort of know about. Like, what is it that you guys need, and how can we help?
So we're going to aim to raise $40,000 by the 30th of June. So we'll launch our tax appeal mid to late May. So obviously financial donations are incredible, but we also have this sort of dual need at this time of year in Canberra, where, you know, we do need those funds so that we have the flexibility to invest in whatever it is that we most need at a particular time. But then we also, it's a very cold time of year in Canberra, so we do have this great need for warm bedding and warm clothing for local families. We do have families that we're supporting that are living in sheds or living in tents or living in accommodation that has no heating.
That's right.
So we have these dual needs, and both are equally as important for us to be able to do the work that we do. And having the support of the community for both of those needs makes it possible.
Yeah. And I guess in that sense, you are really offering people an opportunity to impact your work and local Canberrans in need really in two very different ways, which is a really wonderful thing, right? Because people might have stuff that you need. Yeah. And, I can think of myself and my family really that, we've kept a lot of stuff from our, when our kids were little, or we've passed that down through family, friends or church groups or whatever else. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of stuff out there really that can go out and impact more and more people. But there's also fundamentally that value of financial support, right? So how does Runabout Canberra utilize the funds that you guys raise?
Yeah, so our funds go towards keeping our operation going. So it covers various things. So we operate a very lean organisation. We have this incredible cohort of volunteers, which is obviously a very low cost way of doing things. But we do have a small team of paid staff who really hold it all together, and that's a really important cost, and it's a really important cost that we can meet, and that's about delivering our program. So it's about making sure that our volunteers are well supported and that they're properly trained and, have the guidance that they need to be able to deliver the work that we need to do. It's about making sure that we're managing the relationships with the 700 social workers and support workers that place orders with us, and that we're able to pack the orders and meet the needs of the individual families. And it's about keeping our space safe and well ordered and managing those sort of peaks and troughs in goods, which is a tricky thing to manage. So, it's really about managing our space, our people, and the delivery of our program, which, from time to time we can also, we also might need to purchase, bits and pieces like spare parts for items that we're repairing. We're very focused on the circular economy and making sure that we're rescuing things from ending up in landfill. That's a really strong focus for us. Making sure that we can purchase spare parts, that we can replace the teats in bottles, that, we can replace bits in breast pumps, so that those items can be saved from landfill and end up in the hands of families that need them.
Yeah. All right. So it's about keeping operations running, and it's about you guys purchasing the things that that people need the most. What are the top 3 things that you guys receive, and what are the top 3 things that people need the most?
So we receive a huge volume of clothing, which is amazing because that is one of the things that we do need a lot of, but we've really struggled to get enough clothing for older children. So so for children aged between 5 and 16, 18, we find kids are much harder on their clothes. They don't have as much clothing. So there's a bit of a sort of gap there for us in terms of being able to get enough to support those older children that need help. I guess, the items that we give out most of, it's probably linen, clothing, and school items. We give out but items that we see as crucial and that we don't get enough of are cots, prams and car seats. So because we help that full range of children from newborns up to teenagers, we don't give out as many of those as we do clothing packs, for example, but those items are so vital because it gives families freedom to, get their children out of the house, to get their older kids to school, to hop in the car and go to medical appointments and things like that, to make sure that their children are sleeping safely in an appropriate sleep space at home. So those are absolutely vital, and we are very careful about the goods that we rehome when it comes to those items that have mandatory safety standards. So we do a safety check on those.
You've got to be, for
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And we do find that some of the items we receive just don't meet the safety standards. So that's those three items, cots, prams and car seats, are a sort of an ongoing challenge for us because they're so important. There's so many risks around them. We need to make sure that what we're passing on is safe and suitable for a family to use, but we don't get enough of those. So, so that's tricky. But then we have this, huge ongoing need for clothing, bedding, toiletries, school items. So those items that we might sort of, consider, those of us who are comfortable might consider to be low cost, might not think twice about, but for the families that we're helping, they don't have those items, and the parents often have to make a choice between purchasing, winter clothing for their child or buying food or, paying for their rent or putting petrol in the car. So, we often hear that by us being able to provide any of those items that the families need, we're freeing up the little money that they do have so that they can direct it towards other essential items.
Gotcha. Now, last question. Any Canberran that wants to help, how can they help?
Yeah, so jump onto our website, so www.roundaboutcanberra.org, and there are three ways that you can help. You can support us financially. You can come and volunteer your time with us. You can consider getting your workplace involved. We do very fun workplace volunteer sessions, which are great for team bonding and getting out of the office. And then you can obviously donate your pre-loved children's items. And if you don't have any pre-loved children's items, then you can put a packet of wipes or nappies in your trolley next time you're going to the shops, or some toiletries, and you can donate those to us.